The movie reviewed in this episode is rated R. Listener discretion is advised.
Full of bones. And
She
there's these chickens
slips
in a
on the
cage.
feathers.
Oh my god!
And she's like writhing on the floor, like
yeah.
This is very tropey, like like the overacting of like horror movies back in the day. She's very much like,
oh my god.
yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Scary Movie Nights podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where the scares are real, but the friendships are realer. Today, we will be discussing the 1974 cult classic, The Texas Chain Saw Massacre. That's Mariana.
And that's Joanne.
And we are your hosts for the night. But first, Mariana, let me ask you, what was your barbecue for the week?
I love that. My barbecue for the week was eating home-cooked meals.
Okay.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying just cooking something at home and
Are you the cook or is Logan the cook?
both.
Both the cook.
Both. I think Logan cooks a little bit more than I do.
I don't know. I saw the look.
No, Logan for sure. So I'm trying to cook more.
He was like, fair question.
I'm making eating a priority. Like I really want to cook more at home and eat more like plant-based
whole
and like
foods.
whole like nourishing foods
Yeah.
and like quinoa and like chickpeas and like I made some like really good lentil soup a while ago.
Nice.
But I mean, even if it's just like spaghetti with marinara sauce, like I still cook that myself.
Yeah.
And it's yummy. So that was my barbecue of the week.
That's wonderful. You know,
Yeah.
I like to cook. I'm so tired and I have no time.
Yes.
But today I made like a cheeseburger casserole is what it was. Yeah. And y'all still have to have
Yes.
the Mexican casserole.
I was just about to bring that up, and I also want to have like Brian's corn casserole.
Yeah. We're so into casseroles
We need to have a
in my
casserole
house.
party.
I love that. Well, my barbecue for the week was that I took yesterday off.
Yes.
And it was wonderful. And I played. So I'm really bad about. So I love video games, but I'm really bad about starting a video game and then not finishing it. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3, I've had probably poured over 300, 400 hours into that thing, and I still have not rolled credits. It's really bad. I mean, it's a long game, but still.
Yeah.
But I started playing a new game called Humankind.
Okay.
And it's fascinating because it's like a civilizations based game. So like you start off as tribes and then you eventually build your cities and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
And the whole point of the game is to gather fame, and you can do that a number of different ways. Anyway, not to get too much into the weeds of it, but I love it so much, and so I'm getting it. I played that like almost all day yesterday.
That's
so
nice.
I got some stuff done, like laundry, and I made some appointments. But then I was like, okay, what do I do with myself? Video games.
Yeah.
Period.
Amazing.
So
I love it.
that was my barbecue for the week. Enough about that. Let's rev up the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. By the way, two things were loudest in that movie. Screaming
Yeah.
for like a solid 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And the freaking chainsaw. Like that the sound design was amazing, by the way, for this movie, but like those two things stand out the most, right? Like as far as sound design goes.
Franklin just being real annoying.
Really,
Sally!
Sally, wait, Sally, are you mad at me? Are you mad at me, Sally? Oh God.
Lord.
Anyway, so first we're gonna start off with our no spoiler section. So if you have not seen the movie, you know, this is an okay section for you to listen to.
Yes.
And we're just gonna start off with some fun facts by Mariana.
I'm excited. So here's my no spoilers synopsis, and I will add that this is my redemption. We have Toby Hooper.
Toby Hooper.
Toby.
Wait, so did you look up how to say it?
Actually didn't. I just assumed. What if I have been saying
What
it
if
right?
it's Tobe? Is it Tobe or Toby Hooper?
Nonsense.
Okay, weigh in the comments.
Okay, here we go. Wait, gotta turn my audio on.
Toby Hooper.
Toby
Hooper.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'm glad we got that out of the way. Here we go. The Texas Chain Saw Massacre is an American independent horror film produced Directed, co-composed, and co-written by Tobe Hooper. The film follows a group of teenagers in rural Texas who are on a road trip to visit an old family home. On the journey, they encounter a kooky hitchhiker, gas station barbecue, and a local family with weird taste in home decor.
Living spaces. Or non-living spaces.
AD needs to do a tour.
Yeah. Hey, MTV, welcome to my crib.
Okay, now the casting was widely unknown actors. So this was a super low budget, like indie film.
Right.
Their budget at the time, where is it? I placed it somewhere in here. But they had a really low budget. I think the equivalent it was $140,000, which adjusted for inflation today, that's $700,000.
Which seems like really low for a movie.
Yes.
That's under $1 million.
Yeah. So they hired local actors from Texas. A lot of them had been in like small theater productions and commercials, and some of them like knew Tobe Hooper. But they were mainly all just from Texas. Now, the Icelandic American actor Gunnar Hansen, and he was selected for the role of Leatherface, and he regarded Leatherface as having an intellectual disability, and having never learned to speak properly. And so to research his character, which I think this is kind of problematic, he visited a special needs school and watched how the students moved and spoke. And I later, during my research, I kind of have some thoughts about like the way that they portray like disabilities, whether they are like mental or physical in this film, because I don't think that they portray them in a very positive light. But this was a movie released in 1973.
Yeah.
But yeah, all these actors, I think it like adds to the suspension of disbelief. They're all like just these unknown actors.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like it. I think we discussed in our 28 Days Later episode how we like how that happened, like where it's like it helps suspend your disbelief, if you will, which is great.
And I think at the time that would have had a really big impact, because also at the beginning of the film there is like little captions, and it says that this is based on a true story, and that is completely false.
Right.
This is not at all based on a true story, but people went to the movies and they believed it, and they've never seen these actors before, and so I can imagine people were pretty freaked out. And when this movie was released, it was banned in some countries. So in England, they banned this film.
In England?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy that in the West, like, because you don't think the West would ban movies, but dang, they banned.
And it's also kind of crazy because when I first watched this movie, I didn't watch it for the first time. I watched it for the first time pretty recently, which don't come at me for that, but I watched it after having seen a lot of other slasher films, like modern slasher films, and in comparison to those, this film wasn't super gory.
No.
Like, they don't show anything too crazy.
Yeah.
In comparison to some of the movies we like see today. Especially like we were at the movies the other day and it was a trailer for, was it The Monkey?
Yeah, The Monkey.
And that trailer had more gore in it. The trailer had more gore in it than Texas Chain Saw Massacre.
Was basically red.
Yes. And Tobe was like really, he didn't want to have a bunch of gore in it because he was trying to get a PG rating for this movie.
Stop! Yeah. That's so dumb.
I know. They did not give him a PG rating. Not. It's rated R.
Yeah, okay,
but he wanted to get a PG rating for this film, which is kind of nuts.
Okay, Tobe.
Yeah. Tobe,
get it together.
He was just a little delulu. Now, as I was researching, so this is not our first encounter with Tobe. He also directed Poltergeist, which we did our very first
We've
episode.
done that was our third.
You're right, The Exorcist.
Yeah. No, but we've reviewed a lot of Tobe Hooper films. Honestly, that's really interesting to me.
I think he also came up when we did The Thing episode, because I think he might have been in the running for directing that.
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, for having talked about him so much, I never clicked on his name when I was on Wikipedia, but this time I did, and he is a Texan. So he was born in Austin, Texas, and he went to the University of Texas. And I think this movie was like a really personal project, and making it was really, really crazy. Like, I think part of why I really like this movie is because I can really feel myself in it, because we are in Texas, and I can just feel the heat And the heat when they were producing this
That is
film
so
was
real.
insane.
Ugh.
There was no air conditioning in this house during filming, and they would film for like 16 hours a day.
Oh my god! And Leatherface is like,
yeah, he's
got
got
a
a latex mask,
right?
And the actor said that they didn't want to risk washing his outfits,
Ew.
so for like the entire production, it was not washed, and he said that by the end it was so caked in blood you could like stand them up by themselves.
Oh my
which
god!
is insane.
Ew. But also imagine the smell.
I don't want to. I don't want to.
Any Texan who's been outside for any number of minutes knows already.
In the summer,
In the summer, that's great. Did they film during the summer? Do you know?
I want to say yes. Let me see. It's gotta be somewhere on here when Oh my god, I have so many tabs open. Production development.
Well, I'm surprised that Well, I guess it was super low budget, so they couldn't really afford to make mistakes.
Yeah, temperatures peaked at 110 degrees on July 26th. Like dead of summer, they were out there filming, which is nuts.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Also, I want to add, John Larroquette performed the narration in the opening credits, and he was paid in marijuana.
Okay. He's like,
love that for
just
John.
give me a couple blunts.
Boston weird. Now, some themes for this movie, which I think we'll probably come back to because this is the no spoiler section, but there's something that Toby called hicksploitation, and there's these themes about contemporary American life, and we see this depiction of this family who used to work in a slaughterhouse and probably lost their job due to like new technology. So their job was literally to like slaughter these cows. Like the grandfather in the film, like that was his job, and he was real
with the
good
sledgehammer,
at it, right? Allegedly.
Yeah.
And so I think family is also a theme here.
Okay.
With there's the dinner scene.
Yeah. Oh, the dinner
end.
scene.
That scene is nuts.
Perfection.
Also, I don't know that I would call this necessarily a theme, but violence against women.
Okay.
I don't know. This is what I read online, but I'm like, I don't know that that's necessarily like a theme.
No, I don't know either because, like, well, I don't want to spoil anything. We can talk about it later, but
we'll come back to it. And then the last one, which I do think was a theme, was like animal rights. Okay. Because from the beginning, like there's this opening shot and it's a dead armadillo.
Yep.
And at one point they drive past a like. I'm going to get environmental on y'all. This is called a CAFO.
Let's go.
It's a concentrated animal feeding operation. It has a bunch of negative environmental impacts, and I teach about it in environmental science, but it's like an enclosure, and it's like all these cows, and they're driving past it in this van, and they're talking about how like the cows would get slaughtered. And there's just a lot of like imagery of animals like in cages or dead animals or animal bones. So I do think that there's something maybe there
for like animal rights, you mean?
Yeah.
I always thought it was like it was to also build, well, you could totally be right, also building a parallel between how animals are treated and then the humans are treated the same way.
Yeah.
And it's like,
no, for sure,
it's like a contrast of like, we seem to be okay treating animals this way, but when we treat humans the same way, it's suddenly a problem for some reason.
This is just, it's big vegetable.
It's paid for by the tomatoes you eat.
VeggieTales.
VeggieTales. Oh no, they're taking over.
Okay, so Hooper produced this film, like I mentioned, for less than $140,000 at the time. He used this cast of relatively unknown actors. It was shot in this 1900s farmhouse near Round Rock, Texas, and you can actually visit this farmhouse. It's a restaurant.
It's a restaurant?
Yeah. Let me hop down to my miscellaneous
their
section.
Specialty is barbecue ribs.
The farmhouse used for the Texas Chain Saw Massacre was moved from La Frontera to Kingsland, Texas, and restored as a restaurant. You can also visit the gas station that's featured in several scenes in the film. It's in Bastrop, Texas, which I've driven in Bastrop multiple times. It now operates as a horror-themed attraction, Texas barbecue restaurant, and motel. To maintain its resemblance to the film, the owners preserved various antiques, including the vintage sign that reads, "We Slaughter Barbecue." So that's kind of cool. I'm planning a trip to Austin soon.
Honestly, yeah, it's gonna be a caravan. Honestly, because I would love to go, especially to the restaurant. Actually,
yes,
I really want to go to that.
Yeah, now we should do a road trip.
We should do a road trip for sure.
Okay. Oh yeah, they would often shoot for 16 hours at a time. It was super hot. One of the hottest days, July 26th, 110 degrees.
Did anyone pass out?
A lot of them got injured. I didn't read about anyone necessarily passing out, but let me get down here to, I think it is here. So this farmhouse was not cooled. They used real animal bones for the core. They used latex to make human skin decorations that are in the house. And then they picked up real animal blood from a local slaughterhouse to smear on the walls. And they also would pick up dead animals in various stages of decomposition to just like throw on the floor. And they used...
That's crazy. Yeah. But you gotta do what you gotta do. It's art.
Yeah, it's art. And they were on a budget. And Toby Hooper was going to make this movie.
That raccoon over there that's on the...
Just pick that up.
Just pick it up. Let's go. Yeah. Let's bring it over.
Just get some gloves. Yep.
Imagine him being like, there's an armadillo. Swerves to get it.
That's exactly what I was thinking of, because when I was watching the movie this morning again, I wrote down like the shot of the armadillo, like the dead armadillo. I was like, whoa, like at the very beginning of the film. They used very little special effects, so they often used real blood, like animal blood, and they took some like pretty big risks that I think probably would not happen today. Like they used real chainsaws and like real hammers. And according to Toby, virtually all the cast members sustained some level of injury during shooting.
Oh my God.
And some of them hated him, and apparently they didn't speak to him for like years.
Dang.
There's a scene, where it's Sally and they cut her finger and like feed it to...
Yeah. They cut her finger. Yeah.
They like had like prop blood, and they had like a setup and it just wasn't working, so they just cut her finger for real.
Ma'am, ain't no freaking way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that scene, I'm talking about it later, was one of my favorite scenes, just because of how disturbing it was.
Yeah.
There's no freaking way they did it for real. I need to see.
That's what I read on.
Now Wikipedia. I need to like go back and rewatch this movie now, knowing that everything is real.
Yeah.
And then like how much that hits a lot harder.
Yeah.
Whoa, listener, if you're listening to this and you haven't watched the movie, I'm glad that you are, because now there's a whole different perspective to that.
And there's another scene. So I think it's Kirk. So William Vale. And it's whenever he gets like chopped up into pieces by the chainsaw. And they used a real chainsaw. Like, they told him that he had to stay, like, completely still, or he could actually get cut up by a real chainsaw. Like, it's kind of insane.
Holy crap.
I don't know if they took the chain off the chains or something, but, like, I don't know how chainsaws work, to be honest. But
okay,
that's pretty nuts.
Let's get away from spoiler territory a little bit, because that's crazy, and we're definitely talking about all of that after the warning.
I'll talk about the screenplay a little bit. So this was co-written by Toby Hooper and Kim Henkel. So Toby cites like the cultural landscape at the time as inspiration for the film. Some people say that it's kind of like inspired by like the events of the Vietnam War and like the things that people were seeing on TV, like some pretty like gnarly scenes that they were watching. And the beginning claims at the beginning of the film that says that it's true, but it's not a true story, are allegedly in response to the government lying to the American public, because this was during the Nixon administration around the time Watergate took place, and like the oil crisis and like the 1973 recession. And when watching the news, Toby thought, and I quote, "Man is the real monster here, just wearing a different face." So he put a literal mask on the monster of his film, who is just a person, by the way.
Yeah.
And he decided on a chainsaw while in a busy store contemplating how to cut through the crowd.
And he was like, a chainsaw would help here.
Yeah, he's like, if I could just cut all these people. And I wrote LOL after that. I've definitely been in a crowded place and I'll be like, we need a plague. Like, there's too many people. I don't mean that, obviously.
No, of course not. Reasons, but I mean, also...
he also co-composed all the music for this film with Wayne Bell. And I don't really have a lot written about the music. If there's not a section on Wikipedia, on the Wikipedia page about
it's not on here.
It's not on here. Okay, now some Miscellaneous details that I'll talk about before we move into spoilers. Several names for the film were considered, including Saturn in retrograde, head cheese.
Not Saturn in retrograde.
Well, there's a scene where she's like, Pam
for sure.
is reading like an astrology book.
Sure. And all of that was true.
And it's like Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And I'm like, what?
Dude, that's so funny. If it had been called Saturn in retrograde, I would have literally died.
Also head cheese, which that's so weird.
That's even worse.
Stalking Leatherface, and then just Leatherface. Also, this movie was inspired in part by Ed Gaines, who is a serial killer who is also thought to have inspired Psycho and Silence of the Lambs. Okay, let me see.
I think it also inspired one other one called...
I want to say there was another one I didn't
it's like it's called Henry, the Portrait of a Serial Killer or something like that, which is actually a really messed up movie.
Yeah, because he was a cannibal, right?
Horrible.
Or he would like rob graves and stuff.
I think so. You know, I read up on him a while ago and I just don't remember enough to really talk about it.
Want to. Also, like the title head cheese. Have you had head cheese?
No, what is that?
That's
a real thing? Wait.
So in Colombia we have it. It's called queso de cabeza. And it looks almost like salami, and I think it is something with the cow's head, but it's good. I like
head
it.
cheese. Hold up. I'm looking that up.
Yeah, we gotta look it up right now. Yeah, it's like meat jelly or turin made from the head of a pig.
Okay, that just gave me chills. No thanks.
It looks gross. It looks gross, but I've had it and I thought it was okay.
Okay, well that's not convincing me.
Sorry.
You're like, it's okay. I was like, great. That's a negative from me.
Sorry.
If you had been like, it's so good, like it's definitely, I probably would have tried it. Yeah, but
okay, I feel like the description of it doesn't do it justice. Like jellied.
It really doesn't. Also, it looks weird.
If you tell me that anything is jellied, I probably wouldn't want to eat it.
It
jellied ice cream, like I don't want that ice cream.
No. Jellied ice cream sounds weird. Yeah. And also, like, for me to try something, it has to have something about it that's appetizing.
Yeah.
Not just, like I would probably try, like next time I go to Mexico or something, I'll probably try like a cricket.
Yeah.
Because it's like crunchy.
They're
crispy and
it's
salty.
Just seasoning.
Love that. But not head cheese.
Not head cheese. Okay.
Not head cheese.
We don't stand for head cheese here. Okay, now while the film received mixed reception from critics, it was highly profitable. Nice. It grossed over $30 million at the domestic box office, which is equivalent to $150.8 million, selling over 16.5 million tickets in 1974.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
They made so much money on that movie.
They made a lot of money. And okay, it was really weird too because they made this film super low budget and then they couldn't find a distributor.
No way.
Film. They could not find someone to distribute the film. They eventually like got this production company and then I should have researched this like a little bit better, but I want to say that in order to get the money they needed to complete the film, they got an investor and they gave him like 50% of the profits. Like,
oh my God.
And so
of course.
And they didn't tell any of the actors this. So the actors got paid not a whole lot for this movie because a lot of the profit had been given away to this, producer, this person who gave them money to produce this film. It was actually like kind of messed up. Yeah.
But to be fair, so like that's one thing. Like, do you want your movie made or not?
Yeah.
But it sounds like it was a bad time for the actors all around.
Yeah.
I mean, they were injured. It was super hot.
It was super hot.
They didn't really get paid for, what they did and the success that the film had too.
It had like a huge like cultural impact.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and on the gore part, a lot of people, what I hear a lot is that people think that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is gorier than it actually is. Like, they remember the movie being gory. But when you really watch the movie, there's just not a lot of blood. You know what I mean? I mean, it's suggestive, but it's not really that gory. There are definitely gorier films. And I see here that... I don't know why Toby is so obsessed with getting lower ratings on his movies.
I found this from Wikipedia. Okay. After the whole spiel with like the production, only $8,100, which is about $39,000 inflation adjusted, was left to be divided among the 20 cast and crew members. And then a court judgment instructed Bryanston to pay the filmmakers $500,000, which was about $2.4 million inflation adjusted. But the production company, had declared bankruptcy by then.
Oh my, that's so insane.
But it looks like in 1993, a different New Line Cinema acquired the distribution rights and gave the producers a larger share of the profits.
Oh, good.
Maybe it all got fixed. But isn't that insane? Like, imagine you go through all of that. Everybody's injured. Everybody's like limping.
Yeah.
And you get
and
like
sweaty.
a cut of $8,000.
That's crazy. No way, dude.
Okay, this film was selected in 2024 to be preserved in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
Period.
Which I absolutely agree with.
Period.
And it has an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Or as of today, I checked today.
Very good. Very good. No, it is a great film. I highly recommend it.
Yes.
It's one of my favorites.
For sure. It's the mood setting is like insane and.
Yeah. I actually really like the sound design as well.
And I like the acting.
The acting's really good.
It's the set design as well. Like,
the set design.
Hats off to those people.
Hello. I mean, they've been in like rural Texas.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, folks. Okay,
That's what
still
it feels like.
to this day, looks exactly like that.
I think it's like a little bit maybe enhanced to have like, you know, these people, but I mean, I've been in rural Texas and I have
no, ma'am.
That vibe.
Those are the people that live there.
Yeah.
I have anyway. So that's yes. Period. In yes, conserve it, please, because that's historical right there. That's some historical fact. Exactly. So, do you have anything else for us?
I think that's all I have. I think from here on out, I think we already kind of were getting a little bit into spoiler territory. So we can go
move on to the spoilers.
Yeah.
Okay, listeners. So this is the spoiler section. Make sure you don't listen to it if you haven't watched this film and you care about spoilers and you want to watch it, which I think you should want to. Yeah, you should want to. All right, cool. So, Mar, what the hell? All the injuries, the real chainsaw?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts?
No, I hate that for the actors because I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, I quit.
Yeah.
Because the real chainsaw, hello?
Yeah, I would also quit.
Dude, he chases those people around with that chainsaw. Yeah. Imagine the danger. Like, if he falls.
Yeah.
He'll get himself.
Yeah. Which the character does.
The character, at the end, he does get himself with the chainsaw, which is kind of an interesting, like, comeuppance, you know? That was, like, obviously very intentional.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine they went through all that shooting without one person getting heat stroke. Like, there's no way.
Oh, my God, dude. You feel like you're getting heat stroke
watching
10 minutes when you're outside in the Texas sun.
Yeah, and they're all wearing, like, long sleeved shirts and jeans, except for Pam, I want to say her name is.
Yeah, so I actually wrote that in my notes. I'm like, she's wearing the least amount of clothes ever. Yeah. Like, literally, apparently, the bootiest shorts.
When they were casting her, they asked her to come in short shorts. And then immediately, like, at first I was like, ew. And then immediately after, it was like, that was the most comfortable outfit anyone wore.
Yeah, because she's also wearing this backless top.
She looks great.
Honestly, she's amazing, but she's obviously like the stereotypical like you know how in horror movies there's like those tropes, archetypes. Yeah, she's like the slut, if you will, like the slutty of the group.
Is this like the OG? Because I kind of thought about that while I was watching this movie, because I've seen movies like, you know, the ones that come to mind is like, you know, Cabin in the Woods, and you have these like stereotypes, especially in Cabin in the Woods of like, you know, like the girl who's got like tits out and
tits out, she sleeps with people, and then you got the jock guy who's like, oh bro, like
and they're gonna go swimming to the swimming
and then you have your final girl, which I think this is the first final girl. I think Sally was the first one.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Okay.
So I think this movie like did a lot for the genre and for like all these tropes. Like, was this the blueprint? Sure. I think this was the blueprint.
This was the blueprint. No, it was, because you not only have all those tropes, but you also have like the mood setting, which and just like the macabre, like like I feel like if you didn't have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you wouldn't have like some Rob Zombie films. Yeah, you know what I mean. Are you familiar with any Rob Zombie film? Like, have you seen like House of a Thousand Corpses?
No, I have not.
Okay, House of a Thousand Corpses is crazy. Actually, Rob Zombie himself is actually insane. Like, I'm sure he's like a nice person or whatever, but like he makes demented movies.
Is
Honestly,
his last name Zombie? Is this his legal name?
Rob Zombie. Yeah, I'm sure it is. His parents were named Zombie, and we're like Rob Zombie.
Wait, no, like that's. I think I don't know if he was born that way, but that is his legal name because it says spouse Sherry Moon Zombie.
Zombie. Whoa. Okay. You know what? That's what I'm saying though. Like that's the kind of person like he probably would.
His name. His parents are Louise and Robert Cummings.
Yeah, of course. But he changed his freaking legal name to Zombie. I bet.
That's crazy.
So
he must have.
That's the kind of person that Rob Zombie is, and those are the types of films that he makes. Damn. But like this reminds me very much of like that whole like insane violence, if you will, and like the violence isn't even being played out necessarily, but it's just in what has transpired that like this is the way it is because that thing happened.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I'm reading here, it says he was born in 1965, so this man was like 9 years old when this movie came out.
I'm sure he watched it.
Yeah, that's
well, I mean,
do you
I don't
think
know,
that
I
like
don't know.
changed his life?
Okay. Like, whoa, I want to make these movies.
He watched Texas Chainsaw and like he was like, I'm changing my last name to Zombie right now.
I love this movie. I think from the very beginning,
this is in your top 3.
This is in my top 3 because from the very beginning, I mean, there's no letting up.
Yeah.
I think from the very beginning, I think there's like a couple parts, but even when they're at the gas station, he's like, you don't want to stay here. You don't want to stay here. You don't want to stay here. Like, have some barbecue.
Yeah.
Wait for the gas.
Have some barbecue.
Yeah. Girl. Okay. That was human, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
She's looking inside of his little barbecue den, right? When she's at the gas station. So Sally, like at some point, all her friends and brother have been murdered.
Yeah.
And she runs away from Leatherface, and she's sitting in the gas station.
This guy's like saved her.
Yeah. And she just looks at this little room that he has that's like dark. And what I like about that room is that you can't really tell what kind of meat it is.
No, you
necessarily.
Can't. No.
It's really nondescript.
No, but her reaction and like, I also love in the movie whenever there's all these close-ups of her face and her eyes and her reaction. And that's one of those. And she's looking at that mystery
and like her
meat
eyes.
and she's like.
Yeah. Oh, it's very, very good. Because at the beginning of the movie, they had eaten some of that barbecue.
Yeah, they pick up some barbecue.
They pick up some barbecue from there. And so then she realizes, oh,
yeah,
that was somebody
I just ate. I think barbecue is the theme of this film.
Well, that's so Texan, right?
Yeah.
Barbecue.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I love it. It's very like Texan. This movie is very Texan, actually.
Yeah.
I also love, can we talk about the hitchhiker?
Oh my god.
The brother of the hitchhiker.
The fact that they pick him up
one of the ghosts was like, he looks weird. Please don't pick him up. It's like, I'm picking him up.
Why? I know that was like a thing in the 70s. Like you would like hitchhike and pick up hitchhikers, but like that guy looked freaking shady.
Yeah,
like
shady.
He looked so sketchy. Like,
and also the van is full.
Yes.
Like there's like literally no room for him except for like that one spot.
No. And I feel like the whole time he's in that van, like I feel like they're never freaking out as much as they should be. Like everything he does in Cess, like they needed to be like, they needed to like crank up the freaking out by like 2 notches.
Yeah, I think so.
Like,
well, I think they were just watching him to see what he would do, because he doesn't do anything weird until like he like cuts himself.
When he sets the picture on fire in the van.
That was after he cuts himself, though, right? No.
Well, he cuts himself, and then he cuts Franklin.
Oh yeah, and he cuts Frank.
He sets the picture that he takes of them on fire. He tries to charge them for it.
Which, by the way, I feel like, so he shows them pictures of these cows, right?
Yeah.
That they're like being slaughtered, and then he takes a picture of them.
Oh, wow.
See that foreshadowing parallel right there?
Whoa.
I caught that. I was like, wait, he's taking a picture of them just like he takes pictures of the cows.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's
so
nuts.
Obviously there's no way for them to know that's what's going to happen to them. But as the audience, especially rewatching it, you know, I also love that, like they're basically picking him up from, because hadn't they just left the graveyard where they said like they had like a bunch of bodies have been desecrated?
Because that's how the movie starts.
So I think they picked him up running away from the scene of the crime, because he's the one who has been desecrating the bodies. Yeah. So I'm thinking that they picked him up as he's trying to like leave the graveyard.
That's crazy. It's broad daylight too.
It's
like
broad daylight.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, it's crazy. And then he talks about how his family used to work in the slaughterhouse.
My family's always been in meat.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yep.
Which kind of meat specifically? That's important. That's an important fact. I also love that she's reading the horoscope and it's all true.
Yeah.
It's all comes true.
Yeah. It's like, you're not going to believe the situation you find yourself in. It's like, whoa.
No. Saturn's in retrograde. Shit's going down.
Yep. Shit is absolutely going down. Can we talk about Franklin?
I guess. I'm sure he would love that. I will say this, though. They're so mean to him.
They are.
I mean, so I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg.
Yeah.
Is it them being mean to him and he's annoying because of that? Or is he annoying and then they're mean to him because he's annoying?
I want to say he's annoying and then they're mean to him because... So at first I was like, oh my God, like... You know, maybe the parents force Sally to take her brother with her, which is like a trope in movies that I hate. It's like when the mom is like, take your younger brother. It's like,
like in Hereditary.
Like in Hereditary. And he says at one point, because they're all like upstairs in this like abandoned house, and he's like, I didn't even want to come today. Like, I didn't want to come here. So I think Sally wanted to bring him, and she seems like, I mean, they're all pretty like attentive to him, and like they're setting up the boards for him to like come down. But I think he's just really annoying, and he acts like a spoiled like child.
Yeah, he does. He seems very much not out of character, but like the way that he looks is very different than the way that he acts, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, he
like,
looks like a grown-ass man.
Grown-ass man, but he's like, Sally, are you mad at me?
Yeah.
Sally, no, Sally, you can't go out there, Sally. Let's go back. And I'm
Sally,
like, okay.
Back. And then he's like fighting her over the flashlights. Like, this is like a fight you have with a toddler.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'll go with you. I'll keep the flashlight. And I think it's just he just doesn't want to be in the dark.
Yeah.
I'm like,
which is a little kid fear, absolutely.
Yeah, a little kid fear.
He's like, fine, I'll go by myself.
He's very definitely like the little brother archetype.
Yeah.
You know, like that little trope. But he is so freaking annoying. His voice.
Yeah, he is.
After a while, it's just so grating.
He's annoying. Also, the beginning of the movie, he's like peeing in a can, which, why does he have to pee in a can? Like, just pee onto the floor.
No, but he can't position himself to do that.
That's what
maybe
it is. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And then like a truck drives past and he just falls forward into like a
what was
ditch.
the truck about? Did you catch that scene?
Do you think it was the same truck that comes in at the end?
I don't know.
Because
maybe.
So it's this big truck.
Black Maria.
Yes.
Black Maria. I love it.
But what if it's the same truck at the end of the film?
Maybe.
Which, speaking of that truck, whenever she gets up to the Black Maria and they both get in the truck, why not start driving?
Bro, why did they leave on the other side? That was crazy to me.
Just start driving. Like, he's clearly like trying to cut through the door, but he's not. He's like carving into the door with the chainsaw, but he's not breaking it. Like, drive away.
Yeah, just drive.
Just drive away.
I didn't understand that part.
No, me neither.
But that dude throwing the freaking the thing,
the wrench.
He threw it at Leatherface and he falls, and that's when he cuts himself with his own chains. Oh my god, that was brilliant. I was like, that's all you needed. His weakness is a wrench.
Yeah.
None of y'all have a wrench?
Yeah. I feel like there's so much to talk about.
There's so much to talk about.
Okay.
Can we talk about the fact that they were trespassing?
Yes, we sure can.
Girl, let me tell you this. If you're out in rural Texas, or the South, in general, don't go, girl.
People have guns.
Don't go to people's property.
Yeah.
Girl, just do not do that. Honestly, don't even knock.
Yeah.
Do not even knock, because these people are not used to that. If they do not know who you are already, they will see you as a threat. And they have guns. And apparently chainsaws. And hammers. And hammers. So they will get you.
Yeah.
That's another theme in X. Is it called XXX or X?
X. The first one,
I think it's X. Yeah, the first one. Yeah. Is they go to this place and the people are like very like hesitant to even welcome them into their home.
Yeah.
But they kind of like need the money. So like, yeah, you can rent this out.
Yeah.
But they're like, don't go trespassing on my property sort of thing. So it's like, this is not free for you to use.
Yeah.
Girl, these people out in rural South, they're crazy, okay? They can be sweet as can be.
Yeah.
If they know who you are. But if you're trespassing, they will protect their land at all costs, and that means guns.
Yep, Second Amendment.
So I don't understand why these kids. I mean, these kids are Texan, right?
Yeah, they are.
I don't understand why they didn't know that.
They are, and they're just like, they see that there's a generator and they want to barter for some gas because their, car doesn't have any gas. But like, I mean, going up to the door, like, maybe. But then walking into a house?
Walking into a house,
like, that's... No, like, you just don't do that.
Even here, like, just in general, anywhere.
Yeah.
Not even rural Texas. Anywhere. Yeah. Don't walk into somebody's house.
No.
Girl, even if the door's open.
Yeah, I would never.
Oh, let me tell you a story. Okay, so we have a neighbor.
Okay.
Whom we don't really know what their deal is, okay?
Okay.
One day, I'm just chilling. I get home or whatever. I don't even remember how I was outside at this point. But their front doors are, like, wide open.
Oh, my God.
And, like, their dogs are out. Dogs are real sweet. Like, they come up to me and, like, they start playing whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, okay, why is their door open, though? Because it doesn't look like anyone's home.
Yeah.
So I, like, go up to the door. The dogs go in. And immediately, as soon as I try to cross that threshold, the dogs, like, start growling at me. And they are starting to... So I'm like, they're protecting their territory, which is fine. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. So I, like, call out inside the home. No one answers. And, we live in an area that's like...
Yeah, it's gated.
It's gated, but like...
Yeah.
The gate was open at the time, like... Because there was construction happening still in the neighborhood. So anyone can come in.
Yeah.
So I'm like... Is this a Dateline episode? Is this a Dateline episode right now? I'm pretty sure... I called the cops, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I called the cops to make sure they were okay, do like a wellness check or whatever. And they were fine. I still, to this day, do not know. I've never received an update. But... That was crazy.
That is crazy.
Point being, I'm not going to step into that person's house.
No, absolutely not.
I'm not stepping in there. What if there is a killer and they're still in there? That's literally none of my business.
Absolutely none of my business.
I am minding my own business, and this kid wants to barter for gas, walks in there, and guess what happens?
Immediately dead.
Well, dead? Not immediately. So earlier in the movie, there was some foreshadowing as well, because the grave robber, I don't remember his name.
Yeah. The
hitchhiker tells them that sledgehammer is the best way to kill a cow.
Yeah.
But maybe not, because they don't always die right away.
That's right. Oh, wait, you're totally right. Yep. Not immediately dead. Immediately attacked. Knocked the fuck out, of course. Yeah.
But he's like on the ground. He's like shaking, like convulsing. And then he hits him again.
Yeah.
And I think he's still not dead.
Yeah.
I think he has to kill him, like, when he brings him into the room. And then the satisfaction of, like, the the metal door closing was so good. That's why I say sound design for this movie was so great, because he kept that in there. And I'm pretty sure he cranked the volume up a little bit, because, like, the sliding and slamming of the metal door is so poignant.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, he's in there.
Yeah.
And what is he doing to him?
It's so scary. And then immediately after, Pam, who's like presumably the girlfriend, and she goes in there and she doesn't die immediately, but she gets to see the full extent of the decor.
Oh, yes. The full extent of the decor.
And she's just in this room that's like full of bones. And
she
there's these chickens in a cage.
on the feathers.
Oh my God.
And she's like writhing on the floor like, This is very tropey, like, like the overacting of like horror movies back in the day. She's very much like,
oh my God.
Yeah, if you're not watching the video, you should, because we're just like flailing arms and everything.
Arms and just screaming. Yeah.
And then he gets her. Yeah. Oh, and that scene where she's like running away from him and she's outside the door and he grabs her and pulls her back in. Whoa.
It's crazy.
Chilling.
Yeah.
And then what happens to her? On the hook, while still alive and everything, and she's screaming, and he's like carving her boy.
Yeah. With a chainsaw.
It's freaking insane.
It is.
It is insane.
And then he puts her in the freezer.
There's not a lot of blood.
There's not.
There's not a lot of blood, actually. There's not.
Like, and they don't...
Like, they don't actually show her, like, the hook going through her.
They show some, like, really good angles. Later on, they show the hook, like, covered in blood by itself, and you, like, know what's happened. And that's when, like, their other friend also trespasses into this house, and he's looking for them, and he's like, okay, guys, like, stop joking with me. Like, stop joking. And then he gets in there, and he gets got immediately.
He gets got.
And he hears, like, banging from this, like, big, like, freezer,
like ice box.
and he opens it, and she's like, oh, and she comes out, and then that's when
was that her?
In. It was her.
Was that Pam?
I think that was Pam. Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know who else it would be. She was wearing the same outfit.
True. LOL. No, you're right. You're right. It was. And he opened. Yeah, and that got me actually. That jump scare.
Yeah.
When because like you see her and she's just like sleeping. And then all of a sudden she's like, ah!
Yeah.
She starts flailing her arms, and that got me, girl. Yeah. The jump scares are actually really good.
Jump scares are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you seen In a Violent Nature?
No,
you haven't.
I didn't watch it. You told me you didn't like it.
Honestly, listeners, so if you don't want spoilers for In a Violent Nature, just skip ahead like a couple minutes. But like, there's this scene in A Violent Nature where this is the gnarliest kill, I think, in the entire movie. Mm-hmm. This girl's doing yoga on the cliffside, and she hears the footsteps behind her, but she thinks it's her girlfriend. She's like, oh, did you want some after all, or something? I don't remember. Anyway, he has this hook. He freaking like hooks her through her stomach, and then he like pushes through, hooks her on the head, and pulls her head through her own stomach. It was freaking insane.
How does that even?
No, like
that's crazy.
No, he like breaks. I mean, he's like breaking bones and like breaking her back and stuff all the while, and he's like pulling. He's like, and bro,
that's insane.
Anyway, reminds me of The Hook.
Wow.
See, if you didn't have Texas Chain Saw Massacre,
walked so that In a Violent Nature could run. That's nuts.
Except he never runs; he just walks.
Yeah, very slowly.
Girl. Actually, we should watch that movie and review it. Just so that
I'm down.
We should do it. All right.
Absolutely.
Can we talk about the macabre furniture?
Yes. Okay. I got to give it to them for craftsmanship. They are sitting on these chairs that are made of like, or adorned with bones. And that shit looks sturdy.
Yep.
Hats off. Like, honestly.
To be fair, I think he just takes normal furniture and adds the
thing. Well, there's one specific one where it looks like it's like a pelvis, but you can't really see like wood behind it.
Yeah.
Also, at one point, she's like sitting there and it's like a little like tiny stool with like a chicken head on top of it.
Yes.
And I have to finally mention at the dinner scene, the lampshade.
Yeah.
And it's like
it's faces. A face.
It's faces.
Yes. He made... Oh my God. Can we talk about the dinner? Actually, we're running out of time, so let's talk about the dinner scene real quick. We have to talk about the dinner scene. We have to talk about the dinner scene.
Everybody dies. Sally goes to find these people. They encounter Leatherface.
Frank immediately gets murdered in the woods. He doesn't even make it to the house.
No, he does not even make it to the house.
That's so funny. I just realized he doesn't even make it to the freaking house.
Wow. Everyone else made it to the
Everyone else made it to the house. Franklin didn't.
Wow, that's symbolic. That's gotta
be fuck you to Franklin.
Well, so she makes it to the house and she realizes what's going on and she runs away. And that's when she goes to the gas station, and the gas station clerk dude is like, okay, like, I'm going to keep you safe. I'm going to go get my car. And that's where she sees the meat and she's she's putting everything together. She's like, I'm screwed. And he comes in and she grabs a knife and tries to fight him, but she's a little messed up at that point.
No, actually, he grabs a broom and knocks it out of her hand. I was like, Sally.
Yeah.
Sally. Please. And that motherfucker is so sadistic because he like ties her up or whatever, puts her in the car, and he's like, no one's gonna hurt you, all the while he's like beating her with the broom.
And he's like just talking to her, and that's when you finally start like, because at that scene you see the hitchhiker come down and you realize like, oh my God, like they're
all in
a family, they're all in cahoots, and they like drag her into the room and they put her in a literal armchair.
Yeah, it's literally an armchair. Yeah.
And they tie her there, and then that's when you see this like weird, messed up like family unit. Yep. And like Leatherface has like makeup on and a wig, and he's like the wife, and the gas station clerk is like the abusive father, and the hitchhiker is like the like rebellious teen, and then you have the grandfather who looks like a freaking prune.
Bro, I thought he was dead.
Yeah.
And then they cut her finger and like they cut her actual finger. Yeah. Does that mean the actor sucks her actual blood? That
was my exact thoughts. Disgusting.
Bro, what the flip? That's so weird.
Also, imagine you don't get that on the first cut, like the first like shot.
The first cut. They're like, the first cut.
Like we got to do it again. Like, let's do another finger.
No. Wait, no.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
this is already more than enough.
I wonder if she knew. Does she know? Do you know if she knew? that they were going to cut her actual finger? I don't know
if she knew.
Because that's torture.
She had to have known.
She had to have known.
I never even questioned that. She had to have known.
Okay. Hopefully, yeah.
I feel like these people had to be like in it for the art. Like,
so they cut her finger, and then they put the finger in the grandpa's mouth. And you're like, that's weird that they're doing that.
And he looks like mummified.
And then he starts sucking on it, bro. When he put his lips around it and started sucking, I actually, something flipped in my brain. I don't think I'm the same person after that. It was crazy. Brain chemistry altered by Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because that was like, oh, Toby's insane.
Yeah. And then they sit down for family dinner. My God. Thankfully, she runs away.
Can we also talk about the fact that she's screaming for the whole last 30 minutes of this movie?
At one point, they're like, they're all kind of arguing over who gets to kill her, and they're like, grandpa should do it. So then they like put her head over like a bucket, and they're trying to get the grandpa to hold on to this sledgehammer, and he just keeps dropping it, and he's not really hitting her.
Aren't they like, they wanted to show her how good at killing he is or something like that?
Yes. Yeah. And at that point, they were like all arguing with each other, and the grandpa just literally like cannot even hold this sledgehammer, and it keeps falling, and they like literally like several times, and that's where she runs away. And this woman, she jumps out of a window like on the second story at one point, and then she jumps out of a window on the first story again.
Jumping out of windows.
And then she's like running away, and by now it's daytime, and she's being chased by like the hitchhiker and Leatherface. Yeah. And then we see the
Black Maria.
The Black Maria drive up. Black Maria. This like semi
runs over the hitchhiker completely.
Yes.
I mean, he will not survive that. Is what I think.
No. That was, I think, one of the gorier parts of the movie.
I think so too. Yeah. And I agree with you on the part about like, why didn't they just freaking drive away? No. Because the chainsaw, I think the chainsaw has been too weathered by like bones and stuff like that. I don't know if that actually happens. I also do not know how chainsaws work. But like it cannot cut through the metal of the truck. But then they like leave on the other side.
Yeah, they like get on one side and then get out the other side, and Leatherface is still chasing them. Also, I want to say that truck was probably carrying like some sort of like poultry, because it was like it has like all these holes in the back. So I think maybe it's like carrying on like this whole like slaughterhouse like theme that's like running through the whole movie, and like clearly you have slaughterhouses in the area. But why did they get out of the truck? Why did they not just keep driving?
I don't know. That's so weird.
Like, it's so weird.
I mean, he could have just turned it on, and I mean, I guess it takes a while, but still.
Maybe.
And then before we move on to our next section, I did write, for those D&D nerds out there, Black Maria has some aim. Nat 20 on the improvised weapon throw with the wrench. That was a crit, bro, because it knocks him out, and then he cuts his leg with the...
falls backward, and he cuts his own leg with the chainsaw.
Yep, exactly.
And then we have, I mean, the last scene of this movie is like amazing. Like, we have this truck drive up, and it keeps driving, and then it does this like U-turn, and you see like the dust go up in the air, and then the driver like doesn't help her at all. She's like all like messed up, and she's trying to like hop into the...
To be fair, if there's a guy with a chainsaw, I'm not getting out of my car. Like, but, girl, like, get in. We're going.
No, okay, you're right.
I'm like, I'm slowing down, girl. You better get on. The driver
keeps running the other way. Yeah. She hops into this truck, and then this guy does start driving right away, and she's just like looking back at him, and she's just like laughing, and she's covered in blood.
Covered in blood.
And then Leatherface is just like dancing around with the chainsaw.
Well, so it's a tantrum.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's a tantrum,
yeah. And I think it's characteristic of his character because I've heard it described as such, and he throws the same tantrum in the sequel, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, 23.
Well,
something like that.
We should talk very quickly about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise.
Okay.
The cinematic universe, because there's two video games. One which was released in 1983 for the Atari, which is crazy.
I love that.
There's another one from 2023 that's called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There is several films. So there's the original. In 1986, they released the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. 1990, there's Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. In 1995, The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In 2003, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I think might be a remake.
Yes.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning from 2006. Texas Chainsaw 3D. Leatherface 2017. So 3D was 2013, Leatherface 2017. And then there's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2022.
So the 2003 remake I watched when I was, how old was I? Let's see. Let me do the math here. About maybe 11 or 12. Because I might have watched it after it came out.
Yeah.
It traumatized me.
Yeah.
I could not stop. It was one of those movies where it was like I could not stop thinking about it, and I was so scared for like days after I watched it. Yeah.
Whoa.
It like truly, I was like, hell, like it was, yeah.
More so than this
scary.
one.
Well, okay. I was 12.
Jessica Biel.
I was 12.
Okay, that's valid.
Okay, or 11. And I just was not used to seeing like scary movies like that, you know, like I was more used to like the supernatural-ish kind of scary movies, but like that movie was gory. Yeah. So, you know, maybe we should watch it. Yeah, I kind of want to watch it too.
I think the only other one that I've seen is the Texas Chain Saw Massacre, the 2022.
Oh yeah, when they're in Austin.
Yeah, they're like gentrifying this little like ghost town.
Yeah, which there's a metaphor there. There's an allegory. So now we're gonna go on to our good, bad, and spooky section, because there's a lot that can be said about this movie. Yes. This could be a 2-hour episode, you know, but we want to keep it.
Yeah, we're nearing an hour.
We're nearing an hour. So yeah, let's go for the good, the bad, the spooky. Mariana, what's your good?
Okay, I think the mood setting is impeccable. It's scary and it's uncomfortable the entire time. I can feel the Texas humidity and the Texas heat. The acting was insane. Marilyn ate everyone up. All the close-ups of her screaming and like close-ups of her eyeballs.
I'm like, could she speak after filming this movie? Because she screamed
so much. I also love the scene at the end. It's so satisfying with, you know, Sally as our final girl, and she's on this truck, and it's like the sunrise, so it's like beautiful, and she's just laughing, and she's covered in blood, and she almost looks like Carrie in that scene, but it's just amazing. And then cuts to Leatherface throwing his little tantrum, and she's just like laughing, and it's so satisfying. Yep. And I also just Sally, love the set.
I just Googled this, and she is considered to be the first final girl.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Come on, Sally.
That's awesome.
Let's go.
Yeah, the cultural impact that this film has had, I didn't even begin to write about that in my research, because I was like, I started reading
all the
Wikipedia.
Tropes,
I was like, you know what?
All the archetypes, all the,
Absolutely.
And on such a low budget,
On such a low budget. This was like an indie film.
Honestly, literally, yes, it was. You're right. I love the family. I think the family is so good. Oh, they're so creepy. That's kind of it. The good and the spooky for me kind of like combine, because what makes this movie so good is the spooky.
Same, yeah.
So again, gagged when I found Grandpa was not dead.
Oh my God,
that was so scary. I love all the twists in the film. I think this is really good, especially back in the day when the twists weren't established tropes. That they kind of later on became a little like overused. But it's stuff like the gas station attendant being an actual bad guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably not something people expected back in the day. The hitchhiker being the one with the bodies, and then also being part of the family. The girl in the icebox. I'm sure people back then were like, holy crap, like the writing in the movie. You know what I mean? The sound design was actually really good. Also, the chainsaw versus the screaming was really interesting to me. There's a parallel there. And everything feels very deliberate. So I think Toby did a really good job.
Absolutely. The cinematography is also like really
the cinematography.
good.
I love like classic horror movie cinematography. I think that's something that a lot more movies need to play around with. I think The Conjuring, the first one, did a really good job with that cinematography, which I would love to do The Conjuring one day, and we can discuss that too.
To. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
We have to do all of them.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, what's your bad?
Okay. Why did the truck driver not immediately start driving? The Black Maria. Come on.
Dumbest decision
Literally.
ever in the whole thing.
Also, why would you pick up a hitchhiker that looks like that? Like, I mean, I guess we're in a different time. In the 70s, people would do that. But, like, I can't. Also, my last bad was the depiction of disabled people. So for Franklin, he was, like, physically disabled. He's portrayed, like, so helpless. And he, like, acts really childlike when it seems like mentally he's normal. And then Leatherface is assumed to have some sort of like mental disability, and making him a villain is, I think, a little problematic at the very least. And then the actor who played him like said that he, you know, was inspired by like the special needs schools. But I think that this movie is like a product of its time. It's set in the 70s. And I like to think that society has come like further now, and we've kind of maybe this wouldn't happen so much. Or like if we have a disabled character, maybe it could be played by a disabled actor.
Yeah.
But also I want to bring up like DEI, which has been on the news a lot lately.
Bro, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, so just diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm like, maybe we're moving backwards. Maybe we're not as far ahead as I thought we were.
Yeah, honestly.
But those are my bads. What about you?
Okay. Honestly, I never even really equated Franklin's like disability with him being annoying, although I can see why someone who is disabled being portrayed that way is problematic. I just figured he was an annoying character, and they put him in a wheelchair. He's the biggest guy there who could like potentially, if he maybe could walk, he would be a little less he would be a little more helpful in taking down the family. So maybe that's why they put him in a wheelchair to begin with. So I don't know. He was really annoying to me. That's all I could focus on. I'm like, wow, this guy is literally the worst person ever. And then I feel like Leatherface, I mean, the whole family, honestly, I felt like they were just inbred. Did you get that sense? I don't know.
They definitely could be. Yeah.
Like that's the sense that I got. This is just like an inbred exploitation sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everyone in the rural South is like that. No. But you definitely have areas that are a little questionable, you know what I mean? I honestly can't think of anything that's necessarily bad. There's one thing, I mean, I did turn down the volume when Sally was screaming so much because I was like,
a lot.
I've had enough of that. After like 10 minutes, I was like, okay, I'm good.
I wonder how much of the screaming had to be done in post, just because the vocal cords just could not take it.
You know what? You're right. There's probably a lot of it. Also, I feel like she was screaming through the woods, and I'm like, if you would just shut the fuck up, he would lose you. Yeah. He's not that smart.
No.
But she was like throughout the entire chase scene, and I'm like, dude, he can hear you. Just shut up.
Shh. Quietly.
Yeah, please. What about the spooky?
Okay, the spooky, I think it's just like Sally's helplessness towards the end of the film. Like the acting is just so good there, and she's like tied up to this chair in this like dining room with all this like furniture that's made of like bones and skin, with this like mummified grandfather and these like really creepy people, and you know that they're going to hurt you. Like that's just so terrifying. And it's just like, it's so like, the movie almost makes you feel like uncomfortable and like ill at ease while you're watching. And I felt like particularly nervous for the women, especially like even at the like earlier scenes where they kind of stop and they talk to these people. They're trying to figure out where like their grandfather is buried in this like cemetery, and it's like these, you know, all these men who are just like sitting around, and you know, it's these girls, and one of them is wearing the shortest shorts, backless top, and
literally the least amount of clothes you could wear without being inappropriate.
And then Sally's wearing like, you know, very tight jeans and a tight top, and I'm like, oh god, I would not want to be a woman in that situation.
Yeah. Well, the people at the beginning even at the graveyard make a comment, "Hey, I'm gonna take your girl. Is that okay with you?"
Yeah.
And I'm
like the sexualization,
what?
And maybe that was like meant to like highlight the problem with that. And maybe that is the point that the film, like a point that the film was trying to make, but that made me uncomfortable and it's spooky. But in general, this whole movie is like so spooky, and I can't imagine watching this movie for the first time with like no tropes established, like just seeing this for the first time in 1973. Like,
yeah, I can't.
No
imagine.
Wonder Rob Zombie like went crazy.
Okay, I don't know if Rob Zombie took this as information, but
sorry, Rob, sorry.
But if you did,
imagine you're like 10 years old and you've never seen a movie like this, and you've never really seen scary movies like this, and you see this for the first time. It's like, holy
transformative.
Crap.
Yeah. For me, the spooky like I wrote down the sucking of the blood. Was the most disturbing.
Anytime there's like slurping or squelching in a movie, scary, terrifying.
But also like they're feeding her to him.
Yeah.
It's like a precursor because you know they're gonna eat her ass.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're cannibals.
They're cannibals. Also when they put the girl on the hook.
Oh. Yeah.
Like that was pretty horrifying.
Yeah.
And you know, like part of it too, I think going back to the metaphor, the parallel of like how we treat animals and how we treat humans, is being treated like we treat the animals. Like that is a big fear.
Which is why maybe it is a theme about like animal cruelty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe there is maybe there is a theme there. And quick story, I guess, because we do need to move on. But I had a professor in college we were talking about the ethics of like animal testing and stuff like that. And, you know, he said, what makes this okay that we use animals as testing? No one could really answer. But ultimately the answer to that is like, we won evolution.
Yeah.
Like, we're the smartest. Like, we have the most control. We can manipulate nature around us to like fit what we need, our needs. And I think when that is subverted, it's horrifying.
Yeah.
You know, God forbid, like, aliens come down one day and like they're extremely superior and then they enslave us and there's nothing we can do. And there's nothing we can do and they just farm us.
Yeah.
How do we know we're not being farmed already?
Don't even.
Because the cows don't know. Okay. Thank you for entertaining me on that. Okay, so what would you rate this movie? Let's rate this movie, and how much blood would you suck from Sally's finger?
Okay. I would suck 3.5 pints.
You know, I love these rating systems because I set up like the most outlandish rating system, and then you just roll with it. You're like, I'm making up pints. Pints is the unit that we're using.
That's a lot of blood, actually.
Mariana is over here chugging blood.
I was wondering, is it like sucks, like 3.5 sucks, or
3.5 sucks?
Slurps? But I'm gonna go with pints.
Pints.
What about you?
I'm rating this 4.5 pints.
4.5 pints.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, girl. I'm keeping going. I'm like, Sally.
Yeah. This is just a lot for me for liking a movie and giving it, you know, pints, rating it pints. It's for me like the rewatchability and like how the movie makes me feel. And this movie does such a good job at like freaking me out that it's not necessarily a movie I want to like rewatch.
There's no rewatchability
like other
for
horror films, so that's why I got a 3.5 for me. But I mean, it's an amazing film, and what it did for the genre is like crazy. So
yeah, no, it revolutionized horror, I think, and I think that's one of the reasons why I would watch the movie over and over again. Like,
I mean,
like,
it's your favorite. It's
one of my favorites. Yeah, like if someone was like, I've never seen it, I'd be like, we're watching Texas Chain Saw Massacre. But first I would ask them if they had seen Saved.
And then
if you have not seen Saved, moving that at my house. Now let's see if Letterboxd agrees with our ratings. In this section, we read memorable Letterboxd reviews that are interesting, especially insightful, or downright hilarious. Mar, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. Do you want me to get into character for this first review?
Go for it, Sally.
I'll do it. Okay, so this is by Yi Jian. They gave it 5 stars and a heart.
It's like 10 lines of just
It's just a lot of which, yes, agreed.
Period. This one's by Aaliyah. Maybe if the planets weren't in retrograde, this wouldn't have happened.
Saturn, come on,
bro.
Come on. Okay, this is Kyle. Sally screams at full volume for the last 37 minutes straight of this film. Me. Damn, bitch, it really do be like that sometimes. There's no way she still had any sound coming out of her after the, like, at the end.
No way. I think you're right. I think they probably were like, okay, we're just gonna have you screaming for 30 minutes, so we're just gonna do it in post.
I also wonder how long it took for them to like finish like the, you know, the third act of this movie, because there's like, you know, several scenes where she's screaming. Like,
okay, but also it's surprisingly short. It's like an hour and 20 minutes.
It is a surprisingly short movie. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last one we'll close out with. Ashley says, the scariest thing about this is the concept of having to run for your life while braless.
There's a scene where she's like, Sally is like arguing with Franklin, and they're like fighting over the flashlight, and like you can tell she's not wearing a bra.
She's gonna pop out.
Yeah, like it's cold outside.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing.
You know, like I don't know how that feels like, obviously, but I read this and I laughed, so I figured it would be
uncomfy for sure.
And that about does it for today. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed the podcast, tell your friends about us, and don't forget to rate us 5 stars in whatever app or podcast service you use to bring on the spooks.
Please follow us on our socials by going to scarymovienights.com. Our two most used social media platforms right now are Instagram and Facebook. Just search Scary Movie Nights on either platform and you'll find us.
You can also message us through our socials or by sending an email to spooky@scarymovienights.com. Tell us what you think about the original The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Did you watch it? Was it your thing? How much blood would you suck from Sally's finger? I'm Joanne.
And I'm Mariana.
And thanks for joining us for another Scary Movie Night. See you in 2 weeks.
Stay spooky.
Ooh.
It would take forever to suck a pint out of someone just from their finger.